What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chimpact, bringing guys my GBA match against FIZZ Stardust, and he is the coach of the ATL Hawluchas. He is 1-1. I am 1-1. We are divisional rivals, and this actually means a lot because if I lose this game, I lose a lot of momentum. Even though I lost last week. Last week was I got pretty unlucky in last week, and I kind of consider that variance. You know, it's gonna happen eventually, or here and there. So. Better happen earlier than later. So FIZZ Stardust got his team of Whimsicott, Salamence, Porygon, Scizor, Zoroark, and Volcanion. So I'm pretty happy that he didn't bring Gengar, because Gengar would have been a little more threatening to deal with. He didn't bring Rhyperior, so he doesn't have rocks. And hopefully the settings for this video are fine, because usually I use OBS to record, but this time I'm using Camtasia, so there probably won't be any blurriness, hopefully. So I'll lead out with Respect, the Tornadus, and he is going to lead out with his Volcanion. Now, I really do want to go for the knockoff here, but I don't know if this is actually a Zoroark or not. So I'm actually going to switch out into my Politoed, as he does go for the Steam Eruption, and I Water Absorb that. Top 5 play of the week. Switching Politoed into the Water Absorb. What do you guys think? I like it a lot. Just letting the commentators know this is the top 5 play. So he goes out into Scizor on the Toxic. He knows that I'm not going to go for Scald against a Pokemon that is immune to, obviously, Scald. So now I'm just going to go for the Scald. I did put a lot of Speed EVs into this Politoed, or a little bit of Speed EVs, so I should be able to outspeed Scizor, because I do outspeed Scizor's pre-Evo, pre-Mega, and don't get the burn there, but you know, that's fine. If I did get the burn there, that would have actually been huge. Just letting you guys know, that would have been huge. So he goes out into the Whimsicott here, and you know, I still believe that he does have a Zoroark on his team, and Whimsicott is actually a great switch in for Politoed either way. So I'm actually going to go for the Protect here just to get a little bit of HP back as he goes for the Knockoff. And I'm just like, you know what? Let me check to see if Whimsicott actually learns Knockoff, because maybe that's not on my radar. And Whimsicott actually does not learn Knockoff. So here, I'm just going to stay in, go for the Scald, because if I can get the Zoroark burned, because I know that it's physical because it just went for knockoff, that would be amazing for me. So here I'm just going to go for the Scald on the Zoroark. I also wrote down that the Zoroark is at 90%, so he actually goes out into the Porygon. It actually has Trace, so he's able to trace the Water Absorb. And here I'm thinking, you know what, he does have the T-Bolt, he does have access to that, but here I'm just going to, you know, get a little bit of Protect off just to get my HP a little bit higher, because I may need it to take on his other physical attacking Pokemon pretty well. And he goes for the Thunderbolt there, so I'm thinking I could switch out, but getting this poisoned was part of the game plan, so I'm just going to do that. And I do get a poison as he does click Thunder Wave. I don't know if that was a misclick or not, because Thunder Wave and Thunderbolt have the same color. But either way, he hit me with the Yellow Magic, and I kind of want to protect here. I kind of don't want to protect here because I'm paralyzed. He does have the T-Bolt. I don't know if he's actually going to go for the T-Bolt or if he's going to switch here. And he switches out into... Listen, these nicknames are annoying me. Like, all of his Pokemon have the same nicknames, and FIZZ, stop, don't do this to me. So I go out to Goldirocks, because my nicknames are superior to his, and this is great. So I'm going to be able to set up my rocks as he goes for the U-turn. So, you know what, I'm in a pretty good position. He knows that I'm not going to click Earthquake on the Whimsicott unless I predict him to go for the U-turn. But his best switch into Steelix is going to be the... most likely the Salamence, but he goes out into Volcanion knowing that I'm probably not going to go for the Earthquake, and this could be a problem, but if I had Sturdy, I could have 2-hit KO'd it with Earthquake. But you know what, that's fine, because Steam Eruption is annoying. So I'm going to go out into my Tornadus. Big mistake, because turn 1 I didn't go for knockoff, and that did over 60%. So the game plan there was, you know what, he's going to do less than 60%, I can knock off, and then the next, if he expects, then the next one is not going to deal as much. But that does way too much damage, so I take damage on my Tornadus for no reason, and then I take a ton of damage on my Politoed because he specs Fire Blast. And then I get paralyzed here, and I think this was a higher roll on the Fire Blast, and I get paralyzed anyway. I really needed that Toxic. I really needed that Toxic on the Volcanion, and I didn't get it. So here I'm going to go out to Diancie. It's getting pretty desperate, and I gotta go for the Earth Power. I know that I'm going to be able to probably outspeed the Specs Volcanion because he's going to go with a defensive investment Volcanion. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought it in on the Steelix. There's no way he would have brought in the Steelix if he was fast. So here I'm just going to go for the Earth Power, deal a decent amount of damage to this Porygon. And I'm debating staying in and going for the Moonblast or switching out. And I decide, you know what, I'm going to switch out and I'm going to go out into my Goldirocks just to dodge the Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt, whatever he wants to do here. And he is actually going to switch out as well, expecting me to go for the Moonblast on that Pokemon so that he can take the Moonblast a lot easier with the Scizor. And he is just going to go for the Defog as I am going to click Fire Fang. And I'm hoping this Fire Fang is going to be enough to knock it out because he did get weakened by 2 rocks, I believe. And it's not enough to knock it out. He is running a lot of investment. And here I'm thinking I can set up Stealth Rock again, or I can click Earthquake. And I decide the Salamence could be a problem, so I'm going to just click. I'm going to click Earthquake because Diancie knocks out his Pokemon anyway, and he makes a very heads-up play and goes out into his Whimsicott. This is actually his Whimsicott 100%. I know that it is because the Zoroark is at 90%. I kept track of the Zoroark at how much HP it was at, and I got to keep track of the Whimsicott as well. So, unfortunately, Whimsicott and Zoroark are kind of at the same amount of HP almost. Earthquake and Life Orb dealt a similar amount of damage, so I gotta really keep my eyes peeled. And he based me really well. He's playing really aggressively. And he baited me really well as I do go for the Stealth Rock there, so that he is able to bring in the Volcanion. And I am not sturdy. And this is a Specs Volcanion. And my Politoed went down. And my AV Torn already took damage. So here, I'm just trying to bring in my Metagross. You know, maybe take a hit. I know that I'm probably going to be able to outspeed it. But he just Steam Rushes and knocks me out. So I'm just like, oh my god, like this is brutal. I have to go for the knockoff here and knock off the Choice Specs as he goes for another Steam Eruption, and I don't really know what I can do here. I really don't know. Like, I'm gonna go for the Air Slash here, try to get the flinch, because if I get the flinch I'm gonna switch out. But I don't get the flinch, and he goes for another Steam Eruption and he knocks me out. So I'm just like, alright, for things to go my way at this point in the game, I have to get lucky. I have to get lucky. So here, I have to click Earth Power, unfortunately, because I cannot knock it out with Moonblast. I mean, I know that he doesn't know that I have Diamond Storm yet, but I have to still make these safe plays. I have no switching for this Whimsicott as well anymore, as I do go for the Earth Power. I think a Moonblast would have knocked this thing out, because that Earth Power actually did around 30% to this Whimsicott, and that's resisted, non-stab, and oh my goodness, I don't think that I'm going to be able to outspeed it, so I'm going to go out into Han Solo. Unfortunately, this is offensive Whimsicott. So I was not thinking long term in this game, and I should have sacked the Cofagrigus to the Volcanion instead of air slashing it with my other guy, because Tornadus was still at a decent amount of HP, and Tornadus was an Earthquake immunity, and it beat the Scizor. It beat the Volcanion after rocks. Actually, after it could have beat the Volcanion after rocks. It depends on the rolls, I believe. After a flinch, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I can't let the Cofag die, so I'm gonna go out into my Steelix, because I still need the Cofag to be able to burn the Scizor, because the Scizor is still gonna be alive. It's at like 20%, a little bit less than 20%. I know that it's not gonna die to rocks, so it can still defog, and I need to get rid of the Scizor for the Dynasty to win. So the Dynasty can still win this game if I get rid of the Whimsicott, because the Whimsicott is going to be able to outspeed him probably, and if I get rid of the Scizor. So that is the game plan. And I gotta go for the Roar here. I could have clicked Fire Fang, but I went for the Roar because I expect him to go for a U-turn. And I roar him out into the Salamence, not the Scizor. The Scizor would have been ideal. The Scizor would have been ideal, and because he still has a Scizor, I have to let this take damage instead of the Kofag, because the Kofag cannot this thing cannot beat this thing cannot really beat the Scizor and handle the Whimsicott and do everything that I wanted to, while Kofag can, because Kofag has recovery. And I roar him out into Volcanion, not the Scizor, not the Whimsicott. I might have been able to live a Giga Drain from the Whimsicott, the amount of HP that I was at, because this is slightly more bulkier than my Kofag, and Kofag was only taking like 50 HP from that as well, and this has a lot more HP than Kofag as well. So that was one of the worst switch-ins, but you know, it's not that bad. I can still go out to this. He's min damage from a Moonblast to a max HP Volcanion. It's a roll from 27 to 31. I didn't want to risk it. He is willing to sack his Whimsicott here because, as we saw last time, the Earth Power, like if the Earth Power is doing that much damage, then the Moonblast is definitely going to kill. So here, you know what? I'm gonna ice the kicker. I'm gonna go for the Protect here. He might make a mistake here as he goes for Giga Drain. And I'm thinking I might be able to outspeed. Maybe he didn't EV to outspeed Diancie, even though I'm not even max speed Diancie. So he actually clicks Stun Spore here. And it was probably misclick, but we take those. We take those misclicks. This is the first Pokemon that I KO'd. It is 5-2 right now. It is 5-2. I am struggling. I cannot stay in against this thing. This thing OHKOs 2 Diancies. Almost 2 Diancies. Almost 2 Diancies. So I'm going to go out into my Cofagrigus as he goes for a Bullet Punch. Give him the Mummy so that he's either guaranteed to die or he gets the Mummy and he cannot KO my Diancie if I burn this. So I do burn this. So now he cannot KO my Diancie. The Whimsicott is dead, which outsped it. And the only thing that I need to be concerned about is a potential Scarf Mence or a Sucker Punch from the Zoroark. But you know what? This Kofag can also still burn some of those Pokemon as he goes out into the Porygon. So I cannot, like I said, I cannot go out into Diancie because Diancie cannot take any hit plus Bullet Punch, depending on the Scizor spread. If the Scizor spread is not max attack, then I can probably take a Ice Beam or Thunderbolt from the Porygon and a hit from the Bullet Punch Scizor. But I'm not going to risk that. I'm going to bank on the fact that he does not have a Scarf Salamence, because this is the way that I win this game. So I was hoping that I knocked out the Scizor, but the Scizor is not dead to rocks, so I gotta go for the Moonblast here. And I am able to knock out the Porygon. So Diancie has been able to get 2 kills. And now he goes out into the Salamence. So I'm just like, alright, so this thing is guaranteed Scarf. He's just gonna go for Earthquake plus Bullet Punch. But no, he goes for the Iron Tail, which could have missed. So the reason why the Toxic mattered on the Volcanion right here was because if I got the Toxic off, I would have been able to click Moonblast on the Whimsicott, and then he would have been forced to probably go on to Salamence or Scizor against my Diancie instead of the Whimsicott, because I would have killed the Whimsicott. This would have been eliminated. I would have been 5 versus 3 still, but his Porygon was low. Scizor cannot beat Kofag or Steelix. This thing cannot beat Kofag by itself. and Porygon was poisoned, so I was going to be able to beat it with Diancie one-on-one, and Zoroark loses to Diancie one-on-one as well. And Steelix beats Zoroark, Steelix beats this, Steelix only loses to this, and potentially Porygon based on the way that he brought it in. So getting the Toxic off on the Volcano would have been huge, but unfortunately I was not able to get it, and he did get the Fire Blast roll. And that is it. I played it really bad though. I'm not gonna lie, I played it really bad. I let the Torn take damage against the Volcanion earlier on in the game instead of just going directly out into Politoed when I was probably thinking that was Specs anyway. And turn 1, I didn't go for knockoff, and then later on in the game I went for knockoff. So it was inconsistent. Like, I had a game plan, but I stayed away from the game plan. So I don't know what I was thinking. I misplayed. This is not going to happen for me again. I do apologize to all the people that were supporting me and figured that would go far, but this is not the end. We're only 2 losses in. We lost to 2 very good players in the league, Miguel and FIZZ. Both made playoffs in the GBA last season, so they're both very talented players. They're both in my division, but I know that I'm going to be able to give them a run for their money the next time because I got a bit unlucky in both games, so I know that I have a chance. And we're up against Magnitude, who has been struggling, so next week against Magnitude and the Milwaukee Saucebugs. So he's been struggling, and I feel like I have a good matchup against his team, and next time I will be ready for anybody. Hopefully we don't lose any games for the rest of the season, but who knows. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, and I will see you guys next time.